All, welcome to the tourism meeting for June 9th. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the March 30th, 2020 meeting.
Gene, I'll make a motion.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate if you call out with the motion because either I got to change glasses to see distance and read at the same time, and I can't do that. So, who made the motion?
Ben will second.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Who seconded? Mr. Driscoll. All right. Any questions? Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. All right, we'll turn it over to Joanne to read her resolutions as she needs.
Thank you. Good morning. I have one resolution request this morning, and it is to authorize a new agreement with Workshop to host and support our website, george.com. So the backstory is that the current RFP will expire in August of this year. So ordinarily, we would go back out to bid, a brand new RFP. What do we want to do with the website? Do we need a brand new website after 4 years? And go through that whole, bid process. For the last 4 years, the agreement with Ad Workshop has been $60,000. So they created, they maintain. There are new pages for fall and winter, as I've introduced to the committee, over time. So now that we're at the point that this will expire in August, Peter and I were talking, and is it worth it to go out to bid on a brand new website when we're in the middle of, a health crisis? And currently, Ad Workshop has built in some COVID-specific applications to the website, which are working, really well. And we wouldn't want to factor, additional expense into something brand new. So what to do about that? I ran this by Ryan Moore, Julie in purchasing, and Ryan Dickey in the attorney's office. So the recommendation was that we would be able to have a contract with Workshop if we stayed under the $20,000 purchasing limit. So this would be not to exceed $20,000, and it would be short-term through April of next year, and it would be just to maintain the website and any other little things that came along that we needed to do. And then when the time is right into next year, we can revisit the entire RFP process again. So that would be my request to the committee today. So it's not considered renewing the contract because it is a new short-term agreement with Workshop. And we did consider this a sole source agreement because Ad Workshop has the intimate knowledge of how the site was created and how it works. For someone else to come along and be able to do that now short term may not be likely. Ad Workshop would be able to do that with ease. So that would be my request today. A short-term agreement with Workshop. It would save us a considerable amount of money, and it would just be the most efficient thing moving forward, we believe.
Gene, Dennis,
Hey, Dennis, I see your hand up.
I'd like to make a motion to that, and I have something I want to say once I get a second.
Okay, and I got a second. Mike Wild?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, Dennis, I got a comment.
Yes, Joanne, it's great that we're being cautious, and you have a not to exceed. I think that's good as well. I question how much advertising we should really be doing in these times. So the not to exceed is a great option. We can pay as we go and determine as we go how much we want to do or don't want to do. So I think it's a great motion, and I appreciate your effort, and seems like a good idea.
Joanne has an answer to that, Dennis. Joanne?
So we have two agreements with Workshop. One is to maintain the website, and that's what we're talking about today. The other is the media buy, which we talk about very often, and we'll talk about as the next agenda item. So what I'm asking today is just website maintenance. which, again, we'll keep at the bare minimum that we need to keep things moving along. And the site works, it's just fine. It's just maintaining it until we're ready to go out for RFP. So that second agreement with Workshop, which is the media buy, which is the big $1 million contract, we'll talk about that as agenda item number 2.
Okay.
That answer your question, Dennis? Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Make a time, but I didn't look that way. Sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing I would request, copy of the original contract.
Yeah, that's what we're doing for Rachel also.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No opposed? Motion carried. All right, item 2 now is the one that we're going to talk about for the future. Joanne, that's on you.
Okay, so Tammy's going to show a PowerPoint here, and it'll make it a little bit easier for you to follow along with me. And I did share this PowerPoint with the committee this morning. So as we work through the phases of the situation that we're in right now, and we move toward, through phase 2 and into 3, how do we reopen and begin to really attract visitors to the Lake George area? So in working with not only our department, but there's another hospitality group that meets on a call weekly, we agree that the goals are to attract visitors to the Lake George area above 50% of the previous year. So in terms of attracting people, we count the number of rooms on STR. That's just one of many things that we can count. So last year it was over 1 million rooms. So just to give you an example, January to April of last year, the demand was 172,000 rooms. January to April of this year, 128,000 rooms. So at this point, we're down 25%. The month of May alone was down 57%. So how do June, July, and August play out? The discussion was, if we can keep that year to date at approximately 50% of the previous year, then that would be an attainable goal. We also agree that we need to assure the local communities that visitors are not a threat as they're coming in. And I know that our businesses have taken many steps to make sure that all safety protocols are in place, not only for the guests, but for their employees and for the residents as well. And I think that we all collectively have done a good job of getting that word out there, and will continue to do so. And another point that we always talk about is how to raise the visibility of destinations beyond Lake George. We are always identified as the Lake George area, and our website is visitlakegeorge.com, but we know that those other communities in our county are valuable to us, especially now when outdoor recreation is more popular than ever. So we just need to, as we're moving forward, keep all of those other communities on our radar. Okay, so what have we been doing? A quick little update, and some of you may know this as well. React, rethink, and recover. So at first, how do we react to the situation? We paused all of our paid media, and we saved as many dollars as we could. We implemented effort-based marketing, which is just our in-house staff doing all of our social media and digital marketing. So in the early stages, no dollars were spent, but we were very active online and on social media and maintaining engagement with our followers. And there was quite a bit of engagement. People had more time to be on their phones and laptops, so they were searching social media and commenting. We had a share your memories type of campaign, and just a few other beautiful images to keep the Lake George area and Warren County top of mind. Then it came to the point where we had to rethink what we were doing within the office and how do we support our local businesses and our local government. So we were asked to assist with the takeout restaurant initiative, safe hiking, the Mask Up program, and there was some, Peter did some work on our economic recovery report. So anything that we in the department could, if we could repurpose our skills and our personnel to assist the county, we were quick to be able to do that and happy to be able to do that. At the same time, we still continued all of that organic social media, and we did survey our guests from our email list. A survey that was done by one of our hotel properties. We took a look at that and kind of modified the questions a little bit to send out to our guests to see if they were interested in vacationing this summer and what type of activities would they like to do if they were here, and what were their concerns. So that was part of the, working through this process. So short-term recovery is where we are now. We're still at that organic social media. We put a few dollars behind a post that we call, it's a blog story that lives on our website, what is open in the Lake George area. There have been about 25,000 page views to that in the last couple of weeks. And it's something that we do update every week. So if someone read it a week ago and then they read it today, they'll see that there are new things added. So we think that needs, that's the thing people are searching for. What can I do when I visit? And the intro to that is that we are all following our safety protocols. And if you come and visit us in Warren County, here's what you can safely do and still enjoy yourself. Moving on to a longer term recovery, that's what we're here to talk about today. How do we roll out that advertising message? We have a contract with Working Pictures to create our videos, and the video they created for us last year just used the single word look. So look to the Lake George area. So we're thinking that we would like to build on that. Look to the Lake George area as your vacation this summer, as your safe destination, that you are familiar with and would like to revisit. So we'll build on that through all of our messaging this summer. Some of the scenes that were in that video were Lake George centric, and there was the steamboat and the Sagamore, but it also included Stonebridge and Caves and Revolution Rail. So it includes many outdoor activities.
I got a little ahead of you.
A step ahead of me here. So what are other counties doing? What should Warren County do? And what are other counties doing? Roost, I would think, from what I see, is the most conservative group around. They are still on pause, and they are just promoting to their local people, recreate locally and support your local businesses. At the end of last week, they sent out a survey to their residents, and I do subscribe, and I know a number of other people in our business community subscribe to their newsletter. So I was able to click through this resident survey, and they're asking their own folks, are you ready for us to begin welcoming visitors to Essex County and Hamilton County? So it will be interesting. Actually, there's a call tomorrow with the Roost folks to see how that plays out, and they may have some early results from that. So we'll see where that goes, and I can report back on that. But I think that Hamilton and Essex County are both very sensitive to their residents and their infrastructure, and is it time to welcome guests? Saratoga County, there just happened to be a little snippet in the Times Union over the weekend about them promoting for the amount of $50,000. So I called Todd Shimkus yesterday, and he said that $50,000 happens to be a local initiative where they'd like their residents to shop and dine locally. They certainly need the approval of their full board of supervisors for that, and that is above and beyond their regular summer spending. But spending dollars nonetheless in the short term to promote and support their local restaurants and shopping. The next couple of counties, Clinton County, the Hudson Valley area, Thousand Islands, and Catskills are all ramping up and looking toward a mid-June launch. And the Finger Lakes, I spoke with Lisa Burns. That alliance is being very cautious and really has not rolled out much yet, although they are a week ahead of us in the opening phases. She indicates to me that they do not have a lot of money to spend right now, so they're being cautious with their spending. So let's take a look at what the tourism department has planned and how we can work with Workshop to roll out the red carpet. So our primary objective would be to attract returning and new visitors, firstly within the drive market. So it's easier to attract the returning visitor, and from many things that I've read, people will be looking for a familiar destination, one they've been to before, they know what to expect. And if we are reassuring these returning guests through our email promotions and our social media and all our correspondence with them that we are a safe destination, then it would be an easy choice for them to return to the Lake George area. And also always to attract new visitors and focus on overnights and heads and beds. The secondary objective, the day trip market. So that Capital District market that is so valuable to us within a 60-mile radius. People have been indoors for so long and they want to spend time with their family and friends. So the Lake George area can be that hop in the car and be here in an hour destination for them. We are in the process of resuming our paid media, in addition to always continuing the organic media. I've mentioned the What's Open blog that we update regularly, outdoor recreation. We don't need to reinvent ourselves when it comes to that. We are an outdoor recreation destination. And as the attractions, every day, new attractions are opening, there seems to be now plenty for us to be marketing. The tactics at this point in time will be all digital. There are a few print ads that were placed quite a long time ago, but at this point moving forward, everything would be digital. We would consider broadcast perhaps in the Albany market, but that's not set in stone at this point. It would just be an option. Everything at this point then, digital media, which is we can be quick to, as soon as something opens, as soon as something changes, we can get the word out immediately.
Gene?
So here's Dennis has his hand up.
Yes. You can't go on too long. I'll forget what I was thinking. I'm really impressed with what you have here, Joanne. You seem to have it trimmed right down and you're right on spot with what I'm hearing from the people that I talk to in the business. Do you know any idea how much of your budget compared to last year you're going to be spending this year?
Well, that's what we should talk about next.
Okay, I'll wait.
So the media buy specifically, so that's the second agreement with Workshop, is for $1 million. So a month or so ago, our county administrator asked all of the departments to take a look at their budgets and how much could they save. So when I look at that big $1 million price tag, and the fact that we will miss March, April, and May, we did not spend any money there. That would be where we could save a considerable amount of money. So the million, well, we've spent a little bit in January, February, but not much of that. So by and large, that amount is there. How much we spend, we did have a phone conference with Workshop a week or so ago, and they came back with a $250,000 media buy. That did include quite a bit of broadcast, which we likely would not spend broadcast dollars in New York City, Westchester, Long Island, but we may want to consider Albany or Western New York. Other spending would be that connected TV. So if you're watching Hulu or Tubi TV or Netflix and you're watching your favorite show, you would still see our video snippet there. We'll still continue spending dollars on Facebook and Instagram, Google ads, and programmatic banner ads that will appear while you're surfing on your computer. And actually, one that we did last year was that location-based advertising. So if you see our ad, you click on the ad, and Workshop was able to track if those people visited Warren County, any of the zip codes within the county. So we would choose, do we want to track people from the Albany market? Do we want to track people from the New York market? That is still to be determined. But when you're looking for return on investment, that was quite an easy thing to measure, the location-based marketing. So in terms of that million, could we spend $500,000? I mean, the money is there to spend. How much can we roll over until next year? I do think that a considerable push right now, we really have not spent anything, a little bit internally on social media. So that would be the discussion today, and how our supervisors in our towns, how do you feel? How do your residents feel? Are you ready to, open up your arms and welcome visitors in? And from the conversations that I've had with most of my committee, I feel that we are ready. Back in February, we presented a marketing plan, but now things have changed. So I feel that I need to do my due diligence and come back to the committee again, just to make sure we are all on the same track here. And also factoring in the discussions that we've had with the communications group. And I know that Mark Ian is on, so he'll chime in at some point at this point in time on the call.
Hello.
Yeah, Dennis, yes.
Joanne, you and the department have done a wonderful job. This is really exciting. There are a lot of people interested in where we're advertising, how we're advertising. They're telling me they're getting more people coming from within striking distance of areas they didn't get before. Out of Massachusetts and Connecticut, they're it's an easy drive up to Lake George, and you're away from everything. You're in a new environment. I'm really concerned about next year, and I don't want to be caught short when we start next year with money, hoping that this pandemic is over and that we can go full blast. I think we really need to come into the season strong. I would like to see us spend only half of that $1 million. I think that we should be able to do what we need to do with the half and safeguard ourselves for the coming year, hopefully, when we get back in business.
Thank you, Dennis. Mike Wild, I think his hand was up.
Thank you, Chairman. A couple of comments and then a question. I've been involved with the Recovery Task Force, and Joanne and a number of people have been involved in working to try to figure out how we get ourselves back on track, and they've been doing a great job. But you may have noticed Mark Bean is on the call today. Mark has been leading a group specifically talking about communication, and I just need to do a shout out to Mark. He's been doing a great job, and hopefully we'll hear from him in a couple of minutes in terms of the strategy that we're going through. But one of the things that came out with Mark's call yesterday was a move to coordinate individual business spending with the county spending to kind of get a better bang for our buck in terms of the dollars that we will spend. So I think that's a move that's creative, and it could very well allow us to get a better presence in the market if we're coordinated. So those are just my statements, but I had a question, and many of you have probably seen the fact that we've had these safety badges that have been developed through the task force and others to talk about how we're going to protect our guests and our employees. And one of the things that came up yesterday from Ryan Moore was ESD has, as part of their website, and Ryan, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it's an affirmation page. So as you go through the New York Forward website, individual businesses can affirm or basically confirm that they have agreed to the safety standards and safety protocols. And I'm curious about the What's Open page, Joanne, and here's my question finally. Who manages the What's Open page? And is there a chance that we can link that with the individuals that have affirmed that they're going to agree with the safety guidelines and also tied with receiving a badge? So this is, we talked about it yesterday at Mark's call, but I'm curious, do we manage that What's Open page, Joanne?
Yes, we created that within the office, and Eric is our content writer, and every week when we are on our call, it's not an alphabetical listing of absolutely everything that is open, but it's more of the rafting industry is open, or you can hike. So it's different sectors. We may call out some individual properties, but we do update that ourselves weekly or daily if needed. So to link to, I mean, we could include a link to, there was a list, I think, that Ryan shared of businesses that have completed the affirmation process. That could be a link within the article.
Yeah, the only reason why I ask is because I know that our original survey about visitors coming to the area, safety was one of the key things. And I think this is a way to just reaffirm that. But I just open it up to others who might have comments. And I know Ryan raised his hand, so.
Oh, yeah, I think Ryan's on, but the only quick comment from me is that we got Mike Behan standing by. We want to hear from him, but I want to get through our agenda first, and then we'll get to Mike. Ryan, you had your hand up.
And just on a technical point, the affirmation on the state website is a requirement. If you're open, if you were phased out and now you're phased in, you're required to do that affirmation. So what I would suggest is that we do a cross-reference with the list I get from the state. I sent it around yesterday. Make sure that anybody we're listing on our What's Open page has done it. If they haven't done it, it's probably an oversight because it's a lot of confusing, guidance that's been coming out. But everybody's got to have a written safety plan, and everybody's got to do an affirmation. Those are the two states' requirements. Beyond that, the safety badge is our good housekeeping stamp of approval. It's added value, and I think that I believe we're already promoting that on the website. But if we're not, we should.
All right. Anybody else question? Joanne, you want to move on to the media?
Mr. Chairman, I had a question.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Not to backtrack, but Joanne, you were talking about the numbers and so forth. I have a few questions. Obviously, with the border being almost shut down, close to it, what percent of our business tourism, and I don't know if you have an exact number, I'm not expecting one, but what percent of it is Canadian business, first of all, that we have in our area? Do you know that?
I don't have an exact number, Doug, certainly, but looking at email addresses, visitors to our website, or visitors to our social media, I'm going to say approximately 10 or just under 10%.
Okay. So that's, and then my follow-up question, Mr. Chair, if I could, is so if roughly 10% of our business is from Canada, and my gut feeling is, and it's just a gut feeling, is we're going to see that dramatically decrease. How many dollars are we spending on marketing towards the Canadian tourists? I mean, is it 10% of the total marketing amount of dollars that we spend, or is it 5% or 20, or, I'm just trying to get a feel for maybe a potential savings in that arena.
The Montreal market in particular was part of our overall. So if we're doing any advertising and we look at the markets, we would choose, and Montreal would be one of those. We did a little bit of television. I don't think that it's 10% of the budget though. A lot of it's social, organic. and there's good interaction there. I could take a closer look at that, Doug.
Okay, I didn't mean to catch you off guard, Joanne. I was just, you had listed Canadian, on your PowerPoint, that created some questions. Thank you.
We need to keep an eye on that though, when the border opens, hopefully at the end of the month.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Hogan, I think your hand was up.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate the recognition. I just had a couple questions for Joanne. How much of the 1 million have we spent for 2020 already?
Lisa's right here with me and I'm looking over at her. It's not much. I'm going to say $100,000, but I really, we spend most of, so summer, I would say is 65% of our spend, fall, another 20%, and winter is 15%. And winter is January of one year and December of another year. So it's minimal at this point.
Okay.
1% of the million.
And you had tentatively proposed a 200 and, did I hear you correctly when you said a $250,000 spend? And what would that cover? What period of time would you consider that covering?
So a workshop came back to us with a proposal, and that was the $250,000. Peter and I thought that some of the tactics they recommended, we probably would not spend dollars on. So showing the video in the New York City broadcast market was a pretty high price tag of $70,000. Are we ready to attract visitors from Westchester and Long Island? Perhaps not. So that was the workshop proposal at $250,000. I don't think we would choose all of the tactics that they recommended. So that would be a follow-up phone call. And when they did make the presentation to us, and that was 2 weeks ago, we said, we're not quite ready yet. We need to, reflect on all of the tactics that you've recommended and which ones do we want to choose moving forward. So that would be a second follow-up call now. Part of it would be based on this conversation here today.
So one of the questions that you had for us as town supervisors, I did my homework as you asked and spoke with a bunch of people in my corner of the county. And the phrase that I kept hearing over and over again is willing, but not comfortable. And I heard that in a lot of different iterations, is that everyone understands the need for us to open up and get businesses back to work, but people are not yet fully comfortable with what we're moving forward with. And Joanne, I just want to say, I think you've done a very, very good job so far straddling that line. And thank you for your tact and the care that you've taken in everything that you've said and done through these months. Thanks.
Thank you. So that's why we're here today. So if there are other supervisors that would like to weigh in on how things, what the atmosphere is in their town, then we would welcome that.
I don't know if Mr. Behan has any information that he'd like to present to us on that particular subject, but I think personally, and I think Joanne is with me on this, some of the advertising we got to do is to provide truth information to people that we're ready. Our businesses are prepared for spacing and masks and, and have the sanitizing part to make the people feel safe. And I've just been open a couple of weekends and I've had only a couple of people, but they all praised my emails to them, telling how my business was safe, what we were providing for them, what they needed to do in the building, always wear a mask, and keep the distance. And the ones that I had really, especially the weather was good the last couple of weekends, to sit in the backyard and read a book. So they were happy to get out of their houses and come up where they felt safe. So I think that's a big advertising point that we have to, manage and start looking at. So that's only my opinion. All right. Anybody else have anything on that? So you're ready. And
any messaging that we put out there would certainly include that we're taking all those steps for you to be safe and enjoy your vacation here.
All right, so Joanne, your presentation is complete now. All right.
Slide.
All right, so what I'd like to do, and I'm privileged to introduce Mr. Behan, if he's on with us, and let's spend some time listening to what he has to offer us.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Chairman Merlino and Supervisor Wild, for inviting me. I'm here on behalf of the Hospitality Communications Group. It's a volunteer task force that was set up as part of the Warren County Partnership for Recovery. And the communications group has been focusing on these questions, the very questions that you're dealing with this morning. And I think has reached a consensus about approach that I was asked to speak with you about. Let me step back. For our whole approach to this has been a safety first approach. Without safety, everything else is secondary, if not meaningless. It's irrelevant. We have to ensure the safety of the community, the guests, and the employees. We can't attract employees if they feel that their work would be unsafe. We can't attract guests, of course, and everybody wants to do everything we possibly can to ensure that there is no outbreak of coronavirus related to tourism in the Lake George, Warren County region. That's why the Hospitality Communications Group with the Warren County Lodging Association developed the standards for sanitation and hygiene that are being applied to hospitality organizations, the hotels, the food and beverage, now retail and event spaces. So that's been the whole focus. We're now at a point where all the research that the hospitality industry is seeing is pointing to the fact that people will travel in smaller numbers, but people will travel this summer. They will take vacations. There are places in New York that are competitors to Warren County and Lake George that are reopening. There are places that are competitors that are not reopening. And so we start from the premise that if our job as part of the task force is to help the private sector get back on its feet and to protect occupancy tax revenues and protect sales tax revenues to the extent we can, then we have to look at a reopening strategy that's both safe and effective. The hospitality people on the hospitality group believe that they may suffer a 50% loss of business this summer. That's the going in belief. If that's true, we suffer a 50% loss of sales tax and occupancy tax. Nobody wants to see that happen because it's so important to vital public services. And so the recommendation out of the Hospitality Communications Group is for the county to engage in a significant advertising spend. I know that we've talked $250,000, $500,000. We aren't here to give you advice on what amount of money you should spend, but it should be significant and it should be soon because other areas are going to begin to reopen and draw tourists away who might otherwise come to Lake George, some for the first time and some because they're repeat visitors. But to protect what we can this summer, it's important to have a significant spend in advertising dollars, both for digital and website communications and for television. It's important to remind people that Lake George is here, it's open, and has taken every possible precaution to ensure the safety of visitors, the community, and employees. So the Hospitality Communications Group encourages the Tourism Department and the Tourism Committee to engage in a significant spending to raise the visibility of Lake George as a safe place to visit this summer. And I'm glad to answer any questions.
Joanne, do you have any comments on that, or?
I've been on the call with Mark, so we've been having this conversation all along. Part of the discussion was, could the next step be including workshop on the communications group call so that we can bounce some of these ideas back and forth above and beyond what they've already presented to us.
Any comments from the committee? I know, Dennis, you were talking about trying to keep it at $500,000. That might be a big number just for one item, but I think we got to get involved with this group and work with them about advertising our county. I mean, Mark is well known in the business, and a lot of us and myself have high respect for him. So I think he can guide us a little bit and aim at something that we're looking at and get it going in the next couple of weeks. So we're prepared for the 4th of July weekend. I think that should be our goal.
Dean, I have to say, I'm really impressed. One of my concerns was keeping the business community plugged into what we were doing and where we're going. And between Mike's group and all the outreach from the tourism department, we seem to be doing that. That certainly quelled some of my fears here, and it looks like we're headed in the right direction. I'm excited.
Mr. Diamond, I think your hand was up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got a question for Mark. Mark, when you say a significant amount of money that is being requested by hospitality and communications with the people, what number, can you pin that number down to an exact number on what you're suggesting that we appropriate for this calendar year?
I think you're in the right neighborhood in the $250,000 to $500,000 range. I think that's the right neighborhood. We have not had an opportunity to hear from Ad Workshop about what it has in mind, and so we'd like to have that opportunity. We're talking about trying to set up a meeting or a call with them next week, and we can probably come back to you after that call with a precise number. But I think that it's in Warren County's interest to make an investment in visibility raising right now before the Hudson Valley does it, or as soon as the Hudson Valley does it, before Cape Cod does it, before the Jersey Shore does it. I think there's a first mover advantage of getting out there first and early. And it looks like the content is ready. And we can give you a more precise feel on the number, I think, a recommendation at least. But I think you're in the right neighborhood. I don't think the 250, 500 range looks right to me.
Are you willing, Mark, to sit down with Joanne and kind of develop a marketing plan with $200,000 to $250,000 in that range, and be able to bring that plan back to us to show us how we're going to market it, how the money's going to be spent, who the money's going to be spent with?
We don't want to substitute our judgment for the counties. We're just an advisory group making recommendations to you, but we are doing that work on a weekly phone call every Monday at 3:00, where we're going through specific tactics. What are we doing? What's the private sector doing? What's the county doing? What can we do together? What do we do independently? So we're going through that. I think that my advice to you would be to move as soon as possible. What is today, June 9th. I think you're going to see television advertising and promotion from other parts of the state within the week. So I would move as quickly as you can.
So my next question would be, thank you, Mark. Joanne, do you have a detailed marketing plan that accounts for the $200,000 and how that money is going to be spent?
I have the presentation that was made by Workshop. I have it with me now, but Peter and I didn't agree with all of those tactics. Therefore, we wanted to go back and fine tune.
How long would it take you to fine tune that?
This week.
Okay, could you give me a copy of that shows you itemized how the money's going to be spent with those? Okay, thank you.
And Joanne, maybe I can ask you too, if we take care of that this week, we get it to Mark Behan for Monday's meeting with the group, and let's see how they feel about it. And if this board votes now to move forward with this on next week after the Monday meeting, I think as a group we can get together and just put all this advertising out there. Like I say, I feel it's got to go now myself within a week, so that we catch the people that are starting to think about the 4th of July. Because everything in New York now, they're in phase 1, which is really behind us. We're moving on to phase 3 soon, I hope. And I want to praise our administrator, Ryan. I had a few little tits and tats with him over the last month on some of the businesses, but he's done a phenomenal job making sure they got today. I like the email about the venture business, because that's a big business in our county, draws a lot of people for outdoor work. So if that is I see a lot of hands up. All right, then we won't hold a vote yet. Yes, Ms. Hogan, I see your hand again.
Thank you. I just wanted to, why am I doing that? I just wanted to ask Joanne to send all the supervisors the plan.
Right, that's it. We'll have it out to you as soon as it gets done this week, so that we can have an agreement on it verbally back to us, so that we can turn it over to that other group to let them look at it on Monday. And by the middle of next week, we could be moving forward if everybody 90% agrees with it. I don't think we'll get everybody 100%, but I think I'd like to see about 90% of agreement.
Thank you.
Mr. Driscoll, your hand's up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be short. Thank you for everyone for their
I
comments.
can't hear you, sir.
I'm hearing,
I can't hear you.
okay, can you hear me now?
A little better, yes.
I'm hearing, thank you to everyone for their comments. I'm hearing from friends from Cape Cod that many of them are gearing up for day trippers and people who are interested in shorter term vacations, 1 or 2 nights on the Cape. And has the committee talked about that and possibly if there is a spike in those types of people, maybe that would make up for the loss of some of our Canadian tourists and others who might not be interested. I'd be interested in hearing from the people on that committee.
Yes, Ben, that we have talked about a lot. I mean, I think there are really 2 groups: are the day trippers and visitors who stay, spend some time overnight. They're both important to us. The Capital District is a rich source of day trips, and the northern part of the Hudson Valley is. And I know that some of the advertising work that Joanne has done is focused on generating day trips. We also want to put heads in beds, of course, because that's what drives the OCTAC. So what we're trying to do here is figure out, how do we thread the needle? How much money do we have to spend to protect the maximum amount of occupancy tax revenue and sales tax revenue that we can protect? But it will come from both sources, no question about it.
Great, thanks.
All right, Dennis, I think your hand was up too.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Gene. That was one of the points that some of the business people have been telling me recently, the hoteliers and moteliers, is that they're getting a lot more people at this point that are taking short day trips, and not necessarily the weekends. A lot of them are coming if the weather's good. They get in the car and they come. They're a tank full of gas away, and they don't hesitate to come if they get a couple, 3 days where they're going to have good weather. They'll come up and see us. So
Dennis, let me ask you a question. Lake Georgia, did you see a little bit more motorcyclers this week?
Yes.
I noticed that in our town, a lot more motorcycles. I think a lot of the Americade people that they didn't have Americade, but they had their vacation planned for a few days, and I think they came up anyway. So I think, because I did see more motorcycles than usual.
Yeah, we did, Gene. Generally, they come 2 or 3 riders together, and over the last few days with the good weather, I've seen like 10 or 12 in a group. So I have a feeling they definitely associated somehow with Americade and took advantage of the good weather.
All right, I'll make one more comment. If it's all right with the committee, I think we will get with Joanne. Today's Tuesday, and try to maybe have something by Thursday for all the committee and for the group from Mr. Behan. And then we'll have until Monday to kind of put it all together. We'll all listen in on the conversation and be able to talk back on the conversation, so that I think this committee and that group can all talk together Monday, pick the time, let us all know. And maybe by Tuesday morning, we will have what we want to move forward. So I think that'll be quick. It'll be a quick response and we'll get it done. So if that's okay with you, Mr. Behan, yes, Mr. Weil, I see a hand up. But I like to move forward with that. So if this committee, and I'll let Mr. Weil speak first before we say yes or no. We're not going to vote, just say yes or no. To move forward with this kind of solution, and then come out by Tuesday with a more final thing for everybody to look at. Is that okay, Joe, for you? All right. Yes, Mr. Weil.
Mr. Chairman, thanks. 2 quick things. I thought the original plan was to try to get a spend going this week. So I'd like us to consider maybe just a way to start kicking off some of our social media presence right away.
Well, Joanne is doing that for the social media part, but
okay.
We're talking more of the mailing out of come to Lake Georgia. Social media is going on every day.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that we have an opportunity to jumpstart this and get ahead of some of our competition locally and regionally. And I just think the faster we move, the better we are. But secondly, I'd like to make sure that the committee understands and the public in general, Mark Behan has been a moving force, a driving force behind this. He's done this to, I'm sure, some sacrifice to his normal business. And I just want to call him out to say, thank you, Mark. You've done an awesome job at helping us move this forward.
My pleasure. Glad to be of help.
I think I agree with that 100% also. All right, any other, hold on, Joanne, yes.
As we move forward to make this decision, we've talked about a range of $250,000 to $500,000. So just give me some direction from the committee. Are we being conservative at $250,000? Am I being a little bit aggressive at $500,000? And then we can put the plan together accordingly, assuming that anything we don't spend could be rolled into next year. And I'm just assuming that.
Well, I think we still have to think about the fall and the winter.
Absolutely.
You know, we can't, we have to still have the time and money for the fall and winter. But right now, let's figure out about the summer season. So if that's okay, I mean, I understand what you're saying, Mike, but I think we have to wait just one more week. If this all goes well, Tuesday, Joanne and the crew will be in the office and we'll really hammer it out to get it out there. Mr. Steiner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to just mention a comment to Joanne. Joanne, you mentioned that the sliding scale was between 250 or 500,000. I'm not sure today what that number would be. I just don't know. But here's what my direction, my suggestion to you is: you come up with a plan with a dollar amount, and then we'll review.
All right, everybody okay? Any other questions? All right, I think we'll move for adjournment. So we, oh, wait a minute.
Supervisor Merlino, we did have a
I'm sorry,
public comment.
Mr. Lehman, yes, sorry.
No problem. We have a question from Gina Mincer from the Lake George Chamber and CVB asking, will the messaging for secondary objective in the 60-mile radius be different than the primary objective messaging? I'm not sure who can answer that.
Joanne?
Yes.
So the 60-mile radius messaging, you know, where your quick getaway, let's say, you know, I haven't thought that out, Gina, but Peter and we can work together on that. I think that they would be the same but different. Yes, slightly different.
And the only comment I'd make on that, we need to know from the group what the business people are advertising also, so we don't duplicate some of the stuff. If they're advertising in Syracuse, well, we'll stay out of Syracuse and we'll move to another part of Buffalo or something. You know what I mean? We just don't want to have everybody advertising in the same place. I hope that answers Gina's question, but if she has any other comments, to call Joanne and we can work anything out.
I think outdoor recreation is probably, if I had to choose one thing that is our asset, if you're in Albany and you want to get out and this weekend the weather looks great, boom, you're here in an hour. So I would say off the top of my head, outdoor recreation.
All right. Don, anything else?
Yes, Gina had also asked about whether the spending was going to be $250,000 or $500,000. And obviously, that was then discussed further on. So no decision, it seems, has been made. So, and that was it.
All right.
Wait,
Thank
I'm
you
sorry.
all.
Hold on. Mike Biddle just posted a comment. Hold on a second.
Michael.
I hope we can spend money ASAP for a short-term and long-term investment to our community. I think once we look at the two target markets within 60 miles and outside 60 miles, we will get a good bang for our buck in the 60-mile radius, $1 per 1,000 people. We do need to market to both.
Thank Mr. Biddle for me. He's very knowledgeable and I love working with him. Thanks. All right, anything else? All right, let's move to adjourn and get into octacs. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Thank you all for showing up today.
Thank you very